ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. We shall continue briefly on Rig Veda and how they influence the entire series of writings that followed afterwards. So today we will take Nasadiya Sukta of Rig Veda. Nasadiya Sukta actually appears in 10th mandala of Rig Veda, and Sukt is 129. Now, we already saw the Purush Sukt. The Purush Sukt tells us about the sequence in which, or the profound way in which the universe came into being, how a variety of living beings and non-living forces came into being. That has been explained in the Purush Sukt. Now, Nasadiya Sukt goes back. It actually tells us what was there or what was not there before everything came into being, how the world was, how it looked like or could have looked like. Now, this is a very profound question which science is also asking, that what was there before this universe came into being and how it came into being. We have heard about this Big Bang theory. They say there was a corpuscle of energy which exploded and then it expanded, and variety of stars and these galaxies came into existence. That is the way they explain it. But that is again mostly a speculation, because then you cannot say how this corpuscular energy of came in, how it expanded, and how it exploded and expanded, and how the galaxies have been formed. That is a total speculative, theory. In Vedas, they talk about what existed before all this happened, before the space came. Because without space, nothing can come into existence. Before the sun came, before the moon came, before the life was formed, what this world was about. So this is a very interesting sukta, and this is also actually quoted by large number of scientists. If you find a profound book on science, the first sentence of this sukta you will always find there, and this is fascinating. You will also find this in the beginning of some of the films. So this sukta is very fascinating. It is based on what the world would have been, or if there was no world, what was the situation before this universe came into existence. So let's go on to some of this, mantras of this sukta. The first one: there was neither non existence nor existence then, neither the realm of space nor the sky which is beyond. Now, there was neither non existence nor existence. Now, this is very fascinating term. How do you explain it? If there was no existence, how existence came into being? Nothing can come out of nothing. You must have something so that something comes out of it. Like a seed has a tree inside it. It may not be visible, but it is coded inside. And when you put the seed into the earth and it gets appropriate conditions, It becomes a plant and then gradually it becomes a proper tree. So there is a tree inside that seed. So if there was no existence and no non existence, how the existence came into being? Because if there is nothing, nothing can come out of it. So this is a question, we will discuss that slowly, slowly. And then it says that neither the realm of space nor the sky. If all this vast expansion which we saw all around us, when we look at the dark blue sky in the night, it's a vast expanse. When we travel, we see that we are reaching the a particular horizon, but the horizon keeps extending all the time. It never comes a point where you can actually touch the horizon. So it this vast expanse, this infinite expanse, it was not there at the in the beginning. So where it came from? So this verse itself is asking the same question, that if there was non-existence, if there was no existence, if there was no sky, if there was no space, where this universe came from? The next question is here: what covered it? Where was it covered? Where was it? In whose keeping? Who was keeping it? So where was the seed? Where the seed came from? This is the question this mantra itself is asking. Kimasid gaham gambhiram. Matlab, this is a very profound question. This is what this verse is telling us, that before all this universe came into being, what was it? What was it looked like? So now let's move to the second mantra. There was neither death nor immortality, no distinguishing sign of night or of day. That one breathed, windless by its own impulse, other than there was nothing beyond. Now, death and immortality, they indicate what we call dvait, two sides of the coin. That if you have death, you have life, you have death. You can also have immortality when there is death. And then there is night, there is a day. If there is no night, there is no day. How do you distinguish? Now, how do we explain this? You see, let's take our own example. When we go in the night and have deep sleep, what happens in the deep sleep? We are not dreaming. We are absolutely, in deep sleep. At that time, do you see day and night? There's no night, there's no day. There is no death, no immortality, no life. We don't feel the life. We don't feel the immortality. We don't feel the day. We don't feel the night. There's no duality. So, in that state, your experience is unique. In fact, in that state, you don't feel what is existent and what is non existent. Even that is not known. So, that is the kind of state in which this universe was existing in the beginning, when there was no universe. When the universe was not unfolded, it existed as if we live in deep sleep. In the deep sleep, there's no existence, there's no non existence. There's no day, there's no light. There is no life, there's no immortality. Nothing is there. And that state actually demonstrates us very clearly that the life in that period before the universe came into being, It actually existed as if we are in deep sleep. Now, one breath, what is that one breath? That seed which was in existence. That seed was breathing on its own impulse because there was no space, so there was no air. It was breathing on its own space. There was nothing beyond that seed which was pulsating on its own state. So we can precisely or more or less compare it with the deep sleep which we experience every day in the night. So that is a very, very profound explanation of the universe before the universe actually unfolded. Now let's go to the next verse. At first there was only darkness, wrapped in darkness, darkness wrapped in darkness. Now you cannot distinguish darkness unless there is light. In the deep sleep, we cannot distinguish what is darkness, what is light. It is darkness wrapped in darkness. That's how it is. All this was only unillumined cosmic water. Now they have used this word cosmic water. Now, cosmic water is basically that seed which was in existence before the universe unfolded. And that is why we have this image of Lord Vishnu sitting on a serpent in the cosmic water. Now, that word cosmic water is not actually denoting water as such, it's only an expression of the vast expanse which was wrapped in darkness. There was no life, there was no immortality, there was no existence, there was no inexistence. At that time, when there was nothing which can be identified, then this cosmic water has been described, that situation has been described as cosmic water. Now, you see the language which we express is based on our sense perception. We see a shape, we see an elephant, we say it is an elephant. We see a horse, we say it is an horse. We see a house, we describe it as a house. But in the deep sleep, when you don't see anything, when your sense organs are completely dormant, they are in existence, remember. The sense organs are in existence. The life in existence, but that is completely dormant. In that state, you cannot express in any language. It is not possible. After waking up, you can say that I was in deep sleep. But in the deep sleep itself, you cannot describe anything because there's no experience at all. So, this is the state which has been called as cosmic water. So, in certain ways, I believe that cosmic water reflects the state when we are in deep sleep, something like that, where everything is in existence but everything is not in existence. When we are in deep sleep, everything exists, but everything does not exist because we cannot experience anything. And that is what this mantra is telling us. At first, there was only darkness wrapped in darkness. All this was only unillumined cosmic water. Unillumined. There was no light, there was no prakash, no illumination. That one which came to be enclosed in nothing arose at last, born of the power of heat. Now, this is the language which is not easy to interpret today. When this was explained by the saints and rishis who wrote or who, orally conveyed this concept, it is not easy to explain it today because this language is also, I would say, a mysterious language. It's not easy to understand for a person like me or anybody else. Maybe there are certain illumined sages who can understand it fully. But there was one, definitely, because nothing can come out of nothing. So there has to be something which existed. So there was one. That one was in the cosmic water, like we are in the deep sleep. And that arose at last, born of the power of heat. Now, what does it mean, power of heat? How it came? It is not easy to explain it today. But obviously, there was some movement in that one which actually gave some kind of motion, some kind of vibration, and that vibration lead to the heat. And that heat then gradually gave what we call unfolding of this universe. So this is a concept, this is a science which has been also actually supported by the modern science, that nothing can be created, nothing can be destroyed. If there was no seed in the beginning, nothing could have been created. So obviously there was something which was wrapped, which was hidden. That has been described, that cosmic water. In that cosmic water, there was some movement, some heat arose, and because of that, the seed started coming out. So that is the beginning of what we call the universe. Before the Purush Sukta, this is what actually happened. Then let's move to the next mantra, verse number 4. In the beginning, desire descended on it. That was the primal seed born of the mind. The sages who have searched their hearts with wisdom know that which is kin to that which is not. You see, this language of paradox is the only language which could be used to describe the mysteries of life. When we say that Paramatma is largest of the large, larger than the largest, and smaller than the smallest, this is a language of paradox. The Paramatma, he's closest to you and is the farthest from you. Again, the language of paradox. So here they are using also the language of paradox. This language cannot be understood by our mind because our mind is actually brought up in such a way where we see a beginning and we see an end, where we see day and we see night, where we see light and we see darkness. The duality is uh, actually a part of our existence, and the mind has been trained to accept that duality. And because of that duality, we work out a language which explains. So, when a person dies, we cannot explain what happened to him. We can only see his dead body down below, but you don't know what happened to him, where he went, what happened. Now, that is not easy to describe. We simply say he passed away, he went away. देह त्याग कर दिया. कहाँ गए, क्या हुआ, we cannot explain. So, in order to explain certain inexplicable things, we have to use the language of paradox. So, here in the previous mantra, they said there was a cosmic water. Now, that cosmic water has been described uh, or given the name to a situation like the one we experience in our deep sleep. And then it says that there was some vibration, some heat was generated. And now in this mantra, it says in the beginning, desire descended on him, on it. They're not using the word him, it, because normally for the supreme, there's no gender because he's all the genders. He's male, he's female, he's, you know, bird in a bird and old, he's a old man and is also young. He's everything. So it is not described. That's why we call Tattvamasi. We don't use the male or female. We say Tat. So here also it has been used Tat. So the desire descended on it. Now, after the heat, after in the cosmic water, there was some movement, some heat arose, and then the desire descended on it. It's like a seed. You put the seed in the earth, you have heat, you have water, you have air. Then slowly, the desire comes out of the seed and it starts fructifying. It comes out with two leaves in the beginning, and then slowly it grows. So that desire descended on that force which was wrapped somewhere. Now, how do you explain that force which was wrapped? In what state? It's very difficult. I think the best explanation which one can give is that of deep sleep. So the desire descended on him. Without desire, nothing can expand. So the desire was the first thing which came after the heat. That was the primal seed. Now, the desire was the primal seed that worked as a seed. And that seed was born out of the mind. From the mind of that first, primal force or cosmic water or whatever, however we describe, that desire worked as a primal seed and that seed was born in the mind. Now, obviously, here the force which has been in existence at that time is a life force. Only life force can have a desire. Only life force can have a mind. Only life force can experience the heat. It is not like the modern science which tells you that it was a corpuscle of energy. The energy corpuscle of energy cannot have a desire. It cannot experience heat. It cannot have a mind. So obviously here the reference is that first force which we call Brahma in Upanishads, that force, it was wrapped in such a way that nobody could understand where it was. But then certain conditions occurred. Those conditions created vibrations and heat. And after that heat, the desire descended on that seed and the desire started working as the primal force for expression of the universe. And that desire was in the mind. So this is what the first of the first, when the whole thing started, has been explained here, how it happened. The sages who have searched their hearts with wisdom, now it's also referring, know that which is it is kin to what which is not. Only those sages who have searched, who have gone into deep meditation, who have experienced wisdom in their heart, only those people could actually understand what it is. None of us can experience that. Only those sages who have gone into deep meditation could actually experience what this force was or what it was not. Now, this is what is bewildering. You see, this is an answer to the modern scientific questions. This Nasadiya Sukt is the most profound science in certain ways, which explains the naissance. The word naissance in French is the birth. Naissance means birth. Now, Nasidia is the sukt which explains the birth of the universe, the birth, how it was born, how the universe came into being. So, this is the beginning, this is how it has been. So, only those sages who meditated and who experienced in their heart the deep knowledge of all this, they were the only one who could understand what this force was or what this force was not. Eh? Know what it is kin to which is not. So basically, again, the language of paradox, what it was not. So these are all perplex, very, very profound, very, very primal questions of our existence. Now we go to mantra number 5. And they have stretched their code across the void and know what was above and what was below. Seminal powers made fertile mighty forces. Below was strength, and over it was impulse. Now, I don't think I am capable of really explaining it properly. But basically, it means that after the desire descended in the mind of that primal seed, thereafter they started stretching like a cord the space. I mean, the first expansion has to be that of a space because space is the theater in which everything exists. If there is no space, then nothing can exist. So the first thing is that it started expanding like a cord in the void. There was void in the beginning, there was nothing, no existence and no known existence. There, that seed started expanding, and it expanded in the form of the space or sky or akash. Actually, akash is the right word because space gives an impression of a passive place, and sky gives an impression of what lies above us. Akash is the one which is the most powerful force of nature. Why it is so? So let's understand that also a little bit. You see, everything which we experience in life, they dissolve into Akash and they arise from Akash. For example, we consume trillions of liters of petrol every day in the world. Now, where does this disappear? The fumes come out of the vehicles, or even if they don't come out, doesn't matter. The fuel disappears in the space. A city goes on fire. The whole city is destroyed. Where does it disappear? The smoke disappears in the space. The whole thing disappeared in the space. Similarly, even the earth can become a smoke and disappear in the space. The sun can dissolve itself in the space. Space is I'm using space, but I actually mean Akash here. So everything dissolves into Akash. Everything. It arises from Akash, it dissolves into Akash. Let me give you an example to explain it more practically. We have seen farmers, we have seen fields. There are fields which has been in existence for, we can also say that at least my grandfather and his grandfather or his father plowed that field, cultivated in that field. At least four generations people can see. A plot of land, say 1 hectare, has been in existence for 100 years or 200 years. We have been cultivating that land and we are taking millions of tons of, say, food grain. If we are, for example, it's a field of wheat. Now, over 200 years, we must have taken out millions of tons of wheat from that field. The field remains as it is. It has not diminished at all. If the millions of tons have come out of it, the field should not exist, but it is existing. It should have become hollow, gone down deep. No, the soil remains as it was in the beginning. There's no diminution of the soil. So where this millions of ton came from? The water remains as it is. The water has not been touched at all. In fact, the modern science has done experiments on this. They have planted trees. They have measured the soil which has been, used a huge big pot and the soil was put and the tree was planted there. They have been, you know, the tree grows and it becomes huge tree. Then you cut wood, it weigh say about 10 tons. The soil was only a few kilograms, and that also remains as it is. How this 10 tons of weight come from? The water also which was put, it also evaporated and went into the sky and became clouds. It was not. So actually all that crop which we grow, all those trees which we see, they come from the space. Space gives them the matter. The matter, we have heard about this gold particle, that how the first particle came. If because the gold particle is again related to what we call the Big Bang theory. Now, Big Bang theory says that there was a corpuscle of energy which exploded. Now, energy is photon. It doesn't have weight. It doesn't have mass. Even if it is true, then how the weight and mass came into being? How we can see the soil? How we can see the minerals? How they came into existence? Now that question remains unresolved, and that was in a way tried to explain in this so-called gold particle by the scientists in CERN, but they have not been able to explain it at all. I had delivered a talk on this in one of the universities in US, and there were many scientists who all agreed that that so-called Higgs boson, which called Higgs boson, that theory, it does not explain it at all. And this is the concept which is essential. If the Big Bang theory has to be true, then we have to find how the matter came into existence, and therefore it remains unresolved. But here in Nasadiya Sukta, they have explained that first the space came into being, the Akash came into being. And Akash is the source of everything, dissolves into Akash, everything comes from Akash. As I explained, we saw these millions of tons of crops, they come out, the soil remains undiminished, the water remains undiminished, the air remains undiminished. So everything goes into Akash and comes back into Akash. Now we see these trillions and trillions and trillions of sounds. How many cell phones, how many radio stations, how many TV stations, how many walkie talkies, how many satellite phones. So much sound is released into the space, into the Akash. But you can capture your sound precisely. Even the remote control of your TV works precisely because the space is so precise. It keeps everything intact and gives you the precise results. And that is why the scientists are able to take photographs of, for example, moon or Mars. It is possible only because the Akash gives that precision. Everything passes through that Akash. So Akashic power, Akashic Shakti, many researchers have done work on it. I know one Hungarian scientist who have written a book called Akashic Shakti. So the Akashic power is he's a very well-known person in Hungary. So the power of Akash is tremendous. And so that is what this mantra is saying, that the first after that desire descended on the mind of that Brahman, or whatever name you can call it, cosmic water has been referred here. Now that desire first gave birth to stretching, a cord. It became like a expansion. It gave birth to the Akash, space, with all the powers attached. And know what was above and what was below. So then this whole concept, once you have the space, then you can feel what is above, what is below, what is on the left, what is on the right. You get a feeling once you get an Akash. You may not be able to define it precisely, but at least you get a feeling that this is, left, this is right, this is north, this is south, this is, up, this is down. You get that feeling. The seminal powers made fertile mighty forces. Below was strength and over it was impulse. Now these mighty forces are, in my view, the forces of Akash, Akashic Shakti. That Akash is able to give birth to everything. In fact, the theory of five elements, five great elements, how they came into existence also comes from this. The first element that came into being is Akash. And Akash has only one quality, that is the quality of sound. You don't have any other quality in Akash. Then after Akash, the air, the Vayu comes into existence. Now it has been said in Bhagavad Gita also that wherever there is space, wherever there is Akash, there is Vayu. So the Akash gives birth to Vayu. That is the second element. And the Vayu has two qualities. One is the quality of sound which it borrows from Akash, and second is its own quality of touch, movement. It touches when the air comes and touches your skin, you feel it. The quality of touch we have has linked. Actually, it has the same quality as quality of air. So touch and air, they are correlated. They are from the same force. So that is, from Akash comes Vayu, and then from Vayu comes Agni. When the movement of Vayu, violent movement, gives birth to fire. So that is the Agni. And Agni has three qualities. The quality of sound which comes from Akash, then the quality of touch which comes from Vayu, and then its own quality of heat and light. That heat and light quality is its own, which it comes down from the other two. So that's the third stage of what we call creation, the third stage of formation of this natural world. formation of this universe. Then the fourth force which is created is water. When the Agni gets the temperature cools down, then it turns into water. In fact, the science also accepts it now. We have all studied in our, courses that one stage the whole universe was like a big ball of fire, and then it cooled down and it became ocean of water, and then from water the earth came into existence. That is what modern science also says. So here it says that Akash was the first primal force. From there, the Vayu came with the two qualities, the quality of sound from Akash and its own quality of touch. And the third force was the Agni, which has three qualities, the quality of sound from Akash, the quality of touch from air, and its own quality of heat and light. And then the fourth is the water, which comes from Agni. Now, the water has four qualities: the quality of sound, the quality of touch, the quality of light. It can be seen, and then, of course, the quality, its own quality, which is of taste. You get the taste, the feeling of taste only comes from water. Anything which you taste, if it has no water, you cannot have any taste at all. And it is linked with our sense of taste. And then the last quality, the last element is the earth, which comes from water, and it has five qualities: the four qualities of the predecessors, and the fifth, its own quality of smell. Now, that is linked with our sense of smell, the nostrils. So, this science is implied into this mantra. It has not been explained fully here. It has been only talking about stretching their cord across the world, void, and then it talking about the seminal powers which made fertile mighty forces. It basically means that all the forces that arose and those forces gave birth to this universe, they came from this Akashic Shakti, which was born out of that seed which acquired heat, and then there was a desire. Desire became a primal seed, and then the seed slowly expanded itself, stretched like a cord, and became like Akashic power. So, this is how this has been explained till now, verse in the mantra, or mantra number 5. So, then it says another wording which has been used, which I understand in a different way. Below was strength and over it was impulse. What was impulse? Now, impulse is basically the inner instrument we have, antakaran. The three things, that is man, buddhi, and ahankar, that is the impulse. The mind, the intellect, and the ego. So, this sutra or this mantra does not explain it explicitly. It tells us the origin of the five forces of the universe, the five great elements which are linked to the five senses of human being, which are linked to the five what we call tanmatras. It has been impliedly explained here, but this has been explained in greater detail in Upanishads and then also in Bhagavad Puran. So that is why I call the Vedas as the primal seed of all the subsequent knowledge which was written down by our sages in a variety of shastras, whether they are The Upanishad, the Brahma Sutra, the Puranas, and any other writing, all that they had their seed here, the primal seed. As in this, we're talking about the primal seed. It has not talked about Brahma so far here. They only called it the cosmic water. The word Brahma actually comes ultimately in Upanishads. But we'll talk about that. We'll remaining verses we will take on next session. But here the this Nasadiya Sukta, it is important to understand that this talks about the naissance, the birth of the universe. What was there before the birth? How that expression came into being? And if there was nothing, then obviously nothing could have come. Obviously, there was something. How that something was wrapped in what form? When there was no light and no darkness, when there was no existence and no existence, how that seed, the primal seed, remained in what form? That is what it is talking about. So this Nasadiya Sukta is actually answering some of the most profound questions ever inquired by the scientific minds of this universe. This goes into that primal seed from where everything came into being. And that primal seed, obviously, according to these mantras, had a mind. It means it was a living force. It was not like corpuscle of energy, which was not a living force. It had a living force. It experienced heat. It experienced movement. It experienced desire. And then those desires slowly, slowly expanded into this universe. So, this is the difference. The theory of Brahma, which we have, is based on the very wonderful science that everything originates from the living force, not from inanimate, elements, like the Charles Darwin said, and like the Big Bang theory. The science today is confined more on the matter. They have not been able to understand the life force itself, and that is why they cannot give proper explanation. But the Vedic sciences thought that everything was confined in that life force in the beginning. That seed was a life force. And from there, things started expanding and coming into existence. So, thank you very much. We shall finish this sukt in the next session, and then we will continue further on Upanishads. Thank you.